Hey, this is Romeo Michelson and welcome to ACDC Economics. Today we're going to be talking about Macroeconomics Unit 3, Aggregate Demand and Long and Short Run Aggregate Supply. So I've got good news and I've got bad news. So the good news is that if you understand everything I'm going to teach you in this video today, then you will have a great time passing Mr. M's class. The bad news though, that this is a bear of a unit with many difficult concepts to know, and a chunk of it is important to understand to do well in a macroeconomics class. Okay, pause. I'm an economist, so you know I have to practice what I preach. The rest of this video will only be available to people that bought my Ultimate Review packet. If you haven't gotten it already, please do so. It's the Ultimate Review packet and it's on my website. And I know what some of you are thinking right now, but trust me, it's going to go along with the video. So stop once in a while to do the calculations and the practice problems to understand the concepts. I promise you'll benefit from this as well as the videos. So, aggregate demand is all the goods and services, which is real GDP, in which buyers are willing and able to purchase at different prices. So let's jump right into the graph of the aggregate demand curve. We got price level on the y-axis and real GDP on the x-axis. The aggregate demand is a downward sloping curve. It goes downward sloping for three reasons. The real balance effect, or the wealth effect, the interest rate effect, and the foreign trade effect. For example, for wealth effect, higher price levels reduce the purchasing power of money. The interest rate effect plays a part when the increased price levels cause lenders to charge a higher interest rate to get a return on their loans. This discourages buyers from usually getting their loans. On the other hand, you have the foreign trade effect. An example would be the U.S. prices cause consumers to go to look to outside the nation for goods that they want to import. So some shifters of aggregate demand include changes in consumer spending from increases in disposable income or taxes and consumer expectations. Another is changes in investment spending, so like real interest rates and future expectations, as well as changes in government spending, which encompasses war, nationalized health care, and defense spending. And lastly, changes in net exports, so national income versus other countries. Remember, increases are always to the right and decreases are always to the left. Also, changes in price level does not cause a shift, it simply moves along the curve.
No.
Yeah. That's $1,200.
1,200?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have 1,200.
I'm gonna start marking your property. Here.
Alright, how much was it?
$1,200, so that's all of it.
Alright.
My turn. I'm upgrading to a big hotel. Now the rent's $1,400.
I don't have 1,400. Alright. You have to give me 200 because I passed go.
Fine.
I'm gonna save this so that if I land on your property, I can pay your rent.
But Brittany, I think you landed on this. You counted wrong. So you have to pay rent too, free parking. So the money isn't yours.
And now live from Austin, Texas, Duncan and Joel!
Alright, what we just saw was Brittany exhibiting one of the most important parts of aggregate demand, which is consumer expectations. She anticipated that Ashley would build on her property, thus increasing prices, which meant that she would be spending less and saving money. Brittany would be dropping aggregate demand because she would decrease consumer spending, but also make it so corporations would get less money, thus decreasing investments and net exports.
However, if Brittany were to see that Ashley was decreasing the prices of her properties, it would allow Brittany to buy more land and stuff, and as a result, aggregate demand would increase.
Joel, hurry up. Actually, do better than that. I need new workers. You, start wrapping. Go over there. Much better. Much better.
So aggregate supply is similar to aggregate demand in that it's the total amount of supply. So the shifters of the short run aggregate supply, since it's different in the long run, include resource prices. So let's say the material needed to produce the product, the price increases. So as a result, you won't be able to produce as much. So it shifts aggregate supply to the left. And then you also have actions of the government. So the government will give you a stipend, agree to buy your goods at like an increased rate. As a result, you can produce more goods because you have the money to produce more goods. So that increases aggregate supply. So it's going to move to the right. And then finally, you have changes in productivity. So let's say you have a bunch of workers. You have me and Joel. Me and Joel are working, but we're not very good. So we don't produce very fast. But if you get another two people, like Brittany and Romeo as well, we can produce at twice the rate. And as a result, you can produce more products, shifting aggregate supply to the right once again.
Alright, so as Duncan was talking about, there's the graph over there. However, he also said the long run and short run aggregate supply are different. We can see the long run aggregate supply is a straight line because regardless of aggregate demand shift, which usually would be a decreasing line, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything in long run aggregate supply. It would just change the price level if aggregate demand were to change. So we have a couple shifters, first of all, of that vertical line. You see there first is the availability of resources, which is just the amount of resources that you have at your disposal or that the earth can produce, which means that if there's just not enough wrapping paper to go around, there's going to be fewer presents wrapped. Next is probably population. Next is going to be population, which is the amount of workers that you would have or the amount of consumers that you're producing for. So if there's just not that many people in your country, you're not going to be producing nearly as many presents or wrapping them because there's not enough consumers. Next we have technology, which is simply just the methods that we use to produce them. If we have a machine that can wrap 4 presents in a minute, that's going to be much faster than Duncan and I, who would only be able to wrap 1 each. And finally, we have government policies affecting the natural rate of unemployment, which is, in this case, if they're trying to help the economy, they would be spending more money, which would mean that more people are employed, therefore there are more workers that can go around. Just one last note, long run aggregate supply has the exact same shifters of the production possibilities curve.